to Let's Talk to Animals. My name is Shannon. I'm an animal sensitive and intuitive with animal love languages. And more importantly, this is Pearl Cuts. This is those of you who are listening, you will hear chirping throughout. That is not me with those melodious sounds. That is my 22-year-old sidekick and soul bird. He never misses an episode. Here on Let's Talk to Animals, we share videos weekly to YouTube and podcast to all of your favorite streaming services. Our homepage is on anchor.fm. If you'd like to find out all the places you can find us at, today we are speaking with Ali Katz, who is, I'm so excited to find this out. We are both Houston, Texas residents. So it's really, really fun to welcome you, Ali, and to have a chance to chat with a fellow Houstonian about my very favorite topic. Yeah.
Well, it's my favorite topic too. And welcome everyone to my closet. I moved into my closet when COVID started and my whole family was at home to do all of my work. It's where I do all my readings, where I talk to my clients. And now it's just my cozy little cocoon, and I do everything in here. So welcome.
I mean, who wouldn't love that, right? When I was little, I don't really share this that often, but when I was little, I come from a musical family, a bluegrass family, and we would spend really pretty much every summer going to bluegrass festivals, very crowded, very dusty, very hot, very overwhelming for this little introverted soul. And so this is really gross, and I really apologize for it, but my little private happy places were always the porta potties. And I would get inside one and close the door and be like, it's just me in here. And I would spend my free time visualizing how I could fit a whole house into the porta potty, right? Along with air freshener, one would hope. But it just reminds me, the whole tiny house movement, I don't even think it was a gleam in the eye. And you being in your closet, it reminds me of everything I love about tiny house living and just the whole vibe of having everything you could ever want and need just right around you and close by, including, I believe, we have 2 canine companions who are joining us today.
Gizmo are curled up with me. So that's why my arm keeps moving, because there's no way they can be near me. I'm not petting them as I talk. So
Nothing better than a living warm blanket, right? Except for maybe 2 of them.
Exactly.
So if you are joining us on Let's Talk to Animals for the very first time, welcome. We're so happy to have you. This is a podcast about all things animal communication. The goal is simple: to share the good news, if you will, that it is possible for interspecies communication to take place right here, right now. In fact, it is part of our birthright. It's something that comes pre-installed with our operating system. Just, nobody's ever let us in on the secret. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing that, yes, you too not only can talk to animals, but you're already doing it. And so my goal with the podcast is to invite innovators and entrepreneurs and communicators from all walks of life. And let's talk about how you learned this, how you learned how to do it, how you tapped into your gift. Like any intuitive gift, like anything that's in our operating system, it's great to know about it. But then there's that kind of practical, well, how do I start to unpack this? What do I do with it? I personally am not teaching at the moment, unless you count this podcast as a form of teaching, but I have been inviting animal intuitives who are teaching and mentoring people to come on the show. And you can see who you resonate with if you want to take it further, if you want to learn a little bit more about how you're communicating with your own animals, with wildlife, with marine animals, with animals that you care about at rescue shelters, your charities. This is definitely the place to be, and these are the people you want to be listening to. So, Ali, that's enough out of me. I want to hear from you, and so do all the listeners, and so does Mr. Pearl, right? I just heard the cutest little twitter out of him. So the first question is, kind of that big elephant in the room question, if you will. It's, how did you even discover that talking to animals was possible, that it was a thing?
Well, it's really funny. I call it following the universal breadcrumbs. I see how the universe has laid out plans for me, and I'm really good at reading the signs and following the cues, and that is exactly what I did in this case. So my whole journey kind of transformation and awakening began about 10 years ago with meditation. And I started meditating, and then I started writing. I've written 3 books on meditation and mindfulness, and started speaking and teaching a ton. And really, that sort of opened me up to a lot of different things, energy work. And then I started opening up. I started realizing that I had the ability to do some mediumship communication. So I started more with the traditional mediumship of connecting people with loved ones and things like that, which I was really enjoying. But this is where the breadcrumbs like really came into play in terms of animal communication. Randomly, out of the blue, I got an email in my inbox about an animal communication class, which is not something I had ever thought of. I didn't follow this person. I have no idea where the email came from. It was like the universe literally dropped it into my inbox. And I was already doing, communication in other ways. And I love animals. I always have my whole life. When I was little, my whole life growing up, I said I wanted to be a vet. I've always loved animals. So I'm helping animals in a different way, but I've always felt drawn to helping animals. And I saw this email, and it was that kind of free will moment where you can go in one direction and say, what is this? Where this even come from? I don't know who this person is, delete. Or you can go in the other direction of, that sounds awesome. I want to learn how to do that. And that's the way that I went. So I signed up for the class. And the minute I got to the class and, we started learning, Lacey's like digging in some stuff. Sorry.
Wouldn't you be?
We started learning. And then the first practice we did with a dog, it was so immediate. The connection was amazing. The information that came was amazing. And I was like, I'm meant to do this. Everything's been leading up to this. This is it for me. And I really want to take this further. And so I came home from the class and I started practicing on all my friends and families, animals, and I just loved it. And I was like, I really, really want to get better at this. I really want to take it forward. And so I started reading tons of books from different animal communicators. And I found the one that really resonated with me, and I really liked her style. And I looked her up and found out she had a mentorship program. So I mentored with her. She's actually in California, and I flew through her program. I had to do like 75 practices for her. I finished the whole program in like 6 months, and then just hit the ground running. And it's unbelievable. From the day that I said, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm taking clients that are going to actually pay me, business has just been amazing. And it's really just, when things are meant to be, they kind of flow. And I feel like that's how this was for me. It just happened. It happened really in a way that felt very natural and very joyful. And I don't know, it was just meant to be, I think.
Well, I mean, the big question, of course, is for everyone who is watching or listening, what breadcrumbs may be dropping in your path right now? Perhaps it is Let's Talk to Animals, the podcast, or the YouTube series.
All over the place.
There are breadcrumbs all over the place. And, that is part of the challenge, is because, maybe, rewind 5 or 10 years ago, perhaps you weren't quite so overloaded as we are now, although it still was probably pretty nonstop as far as the information overwhelm, if you will. But potentially, like you said, everything could be a breadcrumb, and do you delete it or do you pursue it? And so I'm wondering how that maybe taps in with your meditation practice for anyone who's listening or watching today, I was thinking, well, how do I know what's a breadcrumb, and how do I know what is just another competing distraction for my time? And I love how you kind of took a step back for a minute and you looked at the nature of the other things that you were resonating with in your life, and you saw how there could possibly be, an evolution. This might be an opportunity to explore your gifts and your passions even further. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, maybe it feels like maybe meditation was might have been a part of that process.
Yeah. So it's funny, when I just want to answer this, like go into this,
Yeah.
and then I answer that question. When I first saw the email about taking the class, it was like, I would love to talk to my own dogs. I wasn't thinking this is going to be my new profession, but my business all of a sudden became like 90% animal communication and 10% meditation. So I feel like the universe put me where they wanted me to go. But looking back, everything happened in the order that it was supposed to, because my meditation practice had to come first. And I think that's what allowed me to connect with animals so easily, because I was able to drop into that meditative space of being really quiet and really focused. I'd already been practicing that for a really long time. So, if you can't shut the world out, it's difficult to hear what the animals, at least for me, I have to get into a very quiet meditative space. Every communicator has their own style and their own way, and they're all right, and they're all perfect, and they're all different. But my way is to kind of cocoon and get really, really quiet and really, really focused. I want silence. That's why I do all my readings with a picture. There's a lot of different styles. I'm sure you've had communicators on that work in person, and I'm sure you've had some on that don't. And I find it to be distracting to be with the animal in person. And a lot of it is because it's distracting for me to be with the human also. I just want to zone in with the animal. I spend about 45 minutes to an hour with the animal by myself. I get a picture and a list of questions, and have, good communication with the owners beforehand, so I know exactly what I'm going for. And then I get on Zoom or the phone with the owners, the pet parents, and then I share everything that I've already gotten. The connection is still open with the animal, so we can get into more detail. We can ask some more questions. We can circle back to things. More questions come up, and then we sort of have a three-way conversation. But I've gotten most of my information beforehand, because I'm in that really quiet meditative space, and it allows me to, I have a lot of, and I'm sure a lot of people have come on and said, I more see things, I more hear things. I mean, there's all different modes of communication, and I use quite a few of them, but I need to really just have that quiet time to be able to do that for myself. So that's my process, which is different than some other people's.
Well, it makes perfect sense, because of course, think what our schedule would be like if we had to, stop and drop into a deep meditation before we had any kind of casual conversation, in the grocery checkout line, or when we're setting up our child or our partner's, doctor's appointments, or whatever we're doing, our getting our tire fixed, So it's about, taking the time and the space for something when it's a significant communication, and understanding that the meditation is a tool to support that. And it feels, because I've been meditating for, oh my goodness, 1990. Math was never my strongest.
So like 31 years.
Oh my goodness, since I was 19 years old, I guess. That has to be right. Anyway, I can't remember, but it was, I was 17 or 18 or 19, something right around in there. I've been meditating, and I'm 50 this year. So, oh my goodness, it's been quite a long time. And I also find that taking extra steps to quiet the mind, to quiet the senses, to pause all of the other stuff that's competing for my attention, and to be able to just give that animal and their person my full focus and my full the full benefit of my attention. And that also feels really good. Now there will be, and there are, I can guarantee you, people listening and watching right now who are like, oh my God, meditation, like 1 minute is too long. And the important thing to know is that there are, as you said, Ali, lots of different styles. And we'll be talking more about that in future episodes of this podcast. How do you choose a teacher? What do you look for? And again, it's about taking a look at the universal breadcrumbs and understanding that there are all kinds of ways to learn. There's, understanding your learning style, understand you thrive when you're in a busy, active classroom and, you have no trouble jumping in to ask your questions and participating in lively debates, or are you an online self-paced learner who likes absolute quiet, likes to do it at 3 a.m. when everybody else is asleep? I mean, all of those sorts of inner knowings that infuse your outer choices, including your choice of a teacher, your choice of a teaching modality. And there are as many different teaching programs as there are students who want to learn.
Absolutely.
So it's just about seeing who resonates with you. That's really a focus of this podcast. You also had mentioned, lots of different ways of receiving information. I actually have a 5-day animal communication camp. It's free, and it talks about 5 of the major ways. So those of you who are listening who want to head over to animallovelanguages.com/free tools. I have to wait for a minute. No, it's not /podcast. It's /free tools. And you can sign up for the 5-day. It's like 5 minutes a day, and you learn about some of the major ways and, that you can receive information, and maybe start to match those up and think, I wonder if I'm already receiving some of this information from my own animal.
I have some clients that, like, last week I worked with someone and she's like, you're confirming everything that I knew. And I'm like, because I'm here for you. I'm happy to talk to your animal whenever you want me to. Like, but if you have a strong feeling, trust it. Go with that. No one knows your animal as well as you do. And you know more than you think you know. And so I love what I do as a business, and I need clients to have a business, but I want to empower people to talk to their own animals, to know that they can do this. That's why I teach people, I teach a 1-hour class on, communicating with your own pets. And I want people to feel empowered to do that. I love helping people, but I don't want people to feel like they need me all the time. I want them to know that they can do this. So that's really important to me.
Absolutely. And that's another important point, because the first thing I always tell people when I'm working with a new person and a new animal is your intuition is always going to have the tiebreaker, the last word, or they'll always trump mine, because you do know your animal the best. And, we're all intuitive. In fact, anyone who's interested in animal communication probably is highly sensitive and intuitive on some level. And that's precisely what draws us towards these pathways of communication that are fall a little outside the fold. This is the stuff that most of us learned in school. But we can sense that they're there. We can sense that they're possible. And it doesn't mean that if your animal is in major crisis or in transition, or you're facing a really difficult decision, that this is the time to stop, drop everything else, and learn animal communication.
Right.
That is the time that you want to call Ali or me, and you want to, or whoever you resonate with. You're meeting lots of great people through this podcast as well. But, you want, it would be the same kind of scenario as you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I think my tooth hurts a little bit. It seems a little sore. I think I'll drop everything and learn how to become a dentist, and then I can fix. No, you just want to go to your dentist and make the pain stop.
There's such emotionally charged times that, when you're getting ready to help an animal transition, or, even, I connect people with animals in spirit a lot, which I'm sure you do too. It's so emotional that you can hardly think straight. So yes, there are times you need help. And that's why it's so great that there's people like you and people like me that can help. But yes, day to day, things, people can really, really get in there and figure some stuff out. So,
and it could feel really good to realize that those instincts that you've had are right on target. I mean, it always feels good to realize we can trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is a major reason why I am so passionate about just letting people know this is in your operating system. I often use the analogy, you just didn't ever go up to the applications to see everything that was installed. Nobody told you it was there. Why would you think to look? And so now maybe there's something that's sparking your interest, waking you up, because, the more of us that become aware that we do have this ability to have these interspecies dialogues, the more we have confirmation of our inner instincts, and the more we care, and the more species we care about, and the more we see what's going on, and the more we feel motivated and equipped to make some changes that are going to benefit all of us. And I always like to, you've told us a lot about your journey, which is really cool. We all come into this differently, but at some point for a lot of people, having a teacher becomes a very important part of the process, not just to have some structure from someone who's been doing it for, a number of years and really has a lot of confidence and has developed a teaching style and a delivery method that can take you through those steps quicker than you could on your own, but also to have the community. Because a lot of folks that have a natural intuitive gift and they have, semi-open to open channels of communication with animals, we also tend to feel a little bit different. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, when you tell people you're an animal,
I don't really fit
they're
in.
like, oh,
That's
some
nice.
people think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Some people think you're really weird. I know my kids, I have 2 boys, and when I first started doing this, people would make comments to them, and, I'm like, guys, it's just something that people aren't used to, but you should be proud. And they are. And the more I started doing it and the more stories I would tell them and all the confirmations and all the things, they're like, this is really cool. So
yeah.
But
Mom's pretty much a rock star. Yeah.
What they said was it would be cooler if you did it with the animals in person. And so they felt like they wanted me to do it that way. And I'm like, guys, it's not how I work. Like, that is so cool, but it's not how I work. But then there's other things that make it cool the way I do it. I work with people all over the world. I've read animals in New Zealand and Australia and Germany and all over the United States. I don't have to be in your home. So I can work with people no matter where they are. And so I love that part about how I do it too, is
and that's
energy is everywhere and there's no confines.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's so important, especially with people who have, it doesn't appear that COVID is necessarily going to be going anywhere anytime soon. And so the technology that we have, like, I know there are a lot of folks that feel that social media is intrusive, and it can be, but it's up to us to manage it, and all of these technological tools. But oh my goodness, having Zoom, having the internet, having email, having all of these different chat services and WhatsApp, that has been a lifeline for us through this entire global pandemic, and probably kind of for the foreseeable future. It's really important to recognize the gifts, even if they come in very strange packaging. And just understanding, for me as someone who's come to animal communication maybe a little bit later in life and relatively recently, it has felt so awesome to have a community of fellow practitioners around the world that the kind of sensitive one that is, a little introverted and always kind of sees the subtext of things. And we can feel a little outside the fold. We can feel like we don't really fit in, like we don't really belong. And
well, I don't know anyone
I don't
else.
feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I don't
There's
know
a
anyone
whole
else
world of people
that does this that I haven't met online. I mean, it's not like you go to parent night and everyone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And there's like 5 people that say they're animal communicators.
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. So it's another gift. It's another gift, and it's really neat to meet people that are also as passionate about animals and about helping animals and about learning about animals as we are. There's a lot of people who love animals, but they can also turn into somewhat of an accessory rather than this living, breathing, conscious, intelligent, sensitive, empathic being. And we just want to get to know everything about them, right, Pearl? Isn't that right, my love? So I guess the next big question along that line would be, how has talking to animals changed your life?
wow. I mean, it has opened me up in so many ways. It has brought so much joy. It's funny. A couple of years ago, I told someone, I love what I'm doing right now, and it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now, but I know there's something else coming. I know this isn't the end, and I know like I'm going to have a whole shift and it's going to be like the best surprise, and I have no idea what it's going to be. Because if you told me 5 years ago I was going to be an animal communicator, I would have been like, "What?" I don't know what you're talking about. So, it has brought me more joy. I've loved everything that I've done since I've started teaching meditation, but it has brought me more joy than anything else I've ever done professionally in my life. Um, it is such an honor for me to help people feel more connected to their animals, to help them understand their animals, to help them gather information to make decisions and help with training and figure out, if their animals are in pain. And I just feel like I'm sort of bridging this gap and, being the voice for the animals, to help the people feel more bonded and connected and more empowered, and also to let these animals speak. They're so excited to share information because it's their chance to get it out and to say everything that they've wanted to say. And so I get to help people, I get to help animals, I get to meet people all over the world, I get to meet new animals every week. And then I get to build relationships because I have people that come back. And so there's animals I've worked with 3 or 4 times. And that is amazing because I just feel like I know them so well and I know their parents so well. And it's just it's so special. I feel so lucky that this is my job. I just feel grateful every day.
And think about that, if maybe you're watching or listening right now and you don't feel that way about how you spend your day. And there are a lot of us that don't, and it's just a lot of us don't even realize that we can or that it's okay. I mean, many of us have been raised in, where work is something that you do because of something that you need, which is money and benefits. And yet there are more and more and more people in the world today that are saying, wait a minute, what if I could get the things that I need, my basic necessities, that lowest rung on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I could love what I do too. And I could feel that I was really making a difference. And it could be around something that I care about more than anything else. And that is absolutely possible. It's just
that. I don't ever say I have to talk to a dog right now. It's like I get to. I don't have to, I get to.
Right.
And that
what would that be like? Those of you who are listening or watching, what would that be like? I'm not saying it has to be animal communication, but your thing is out there. I love, Ali, what you were just saying, like you could feel it. You could feel that it was there. And then there's like this patient period where you're kind of like, I could feel that it's there. I could feel that it's there. It's not coming yet, but I can feel that it's there.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you took the words out of my mouth too. For people that are watching it, animal communication might be something you're interested in and want to dabble in, but it might not be the career for you. But if you aren't happy in what you're doing and you stay open and you ask for guidance from the universe and to be pointed in the right direction, and you're open to the signs and you follow those breadcrumbs, you'll find it. Because I'm doing something that was completely not on my radar, but I was open to it. And I found something that I'm so passionate about and makes me so happy every day, and that I'm good at. So the universe knew I was supposed to do it, even when I didn't. And so it could be a variety of different things, but you have to find what that is for you.
And I think it's so important just in the moment that email dropped in. I mean, it feels like your meditation practice and your mindfulness practice and just the practice you have of trusting yourself enough to give yourself permission to be curious about something new. Let me just check it out.
The journey,
and
who knows? This might not be my final destination. I mean, I'll tell you in 10 years, but I can't imagine ever stopping, but never say never. You just maybe something else will be presented, but
well, we don't know what's unfolding in the greater scheme of things, but it's entirely possible that, both of us and everyone who's listening or watching right now, there are lots of surprises yet to come, but allowing ourselves to stay curious, allowing ourselves to giving ourselves 5 or 10 minutes to just check something out and seeing, it doesn't have to, and I actually talked about this in the last episode that I just finished recording. You don't have to invest in a 6-month program. There are lots of little free things like my animal communication camp. You could have one session. That's actually my first experience with animal communication, was hiring an animal communicator. That's a great way to do it. And you just get a little taste of it. It's not a huge investment of time or finances, and you just get to have the experience. I like to say, is talking with your animal on your bucket list? Is that something you'd like to experience before you die? If yes, it's possible. And it doesn't mean that you've got to sign up for any kind of lengthy study or practicum or anything like that. Just maybe the breadcrumb is just have an experience of it. Maybe read one book or have one session, or just listen to a few more of these podcast episodes and just see what's kind of percolating within you.
You can dabble in as many things as you want.
Exactly.
Even if you took an animal communication class, that doesn't mean you have to be an animal communicator. You can try something for the fun of it, for the experience of it. And, you don't know what you want until you have what you don't want. So sometimes you have to try a few things and they're not a fit, and that's okay. You don't have to put yourself in any box at any time. So I say try everything. And
I think that's a great way to look at it, because in the many career incarnations I've had thus far, there were many points in my life where I knew a lot more about what I didn't want than what I did.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, because it's another great way to approach it. It's like, okay, well, I could see certain things about what I'm doing now, or about how I'm living my life, or about the level of connection that I feel with my animal that do work for me. But then I can see certain areas where, man, I just wish that I could adjust this a little. I wish I could have a little more of this, a little less of that. I wish I knew why my animal stares. That's a big one. People come to me and are like, she just sits there and stares at me. Why? I must know. And that could be the driving factor. It's like, and if you could have an experience where your animal could tell you exactly what they want you to know, would you take it? It's a big question. It's a good question to think about. If somebody came to you and said, I can help you hear exactly what your animal wants you to know, what they've been trying to tell you, would you want to know? And just kind of drop that in the bucket and see where the ripples lead you. So on that note, we've arrived at the point in the podcast where I'd really like to help those who are resonating with what you're sharing and your whole approach to connect with you. So could you tell us a little bit about how you work with people and especially mentoring for interested students of animal communication at any level where they'd like to begin?
Absolutely. So the best place to go is my website. It's alikatz.com, my name. And I'm sure that'll be in like show notes or something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's funny. Everyone's like, Ali Katz. I mean, that's such a good
name. I know. It's just so cute.
I'm like, I married into it. It was meant to be. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So my website, and sign up for my newsletter, because that's where I announce all my, like when I teach 1-hour classes about communicating with your own animal, that's where I announce them. Also usually on Instagram, and it's Ali Katz _. And so, as I had mentioned before, I work with people all over the world. So no matter where you are, you can hire me to do a session. You can take a 1-hour class. I have them about once a quarter. And then I do work with people one-on-one who are interested in either doing this professionally or just really want to practice and get good at it and learn all about, dealing with fosters, talking to animals in spirit, training issues. We go through 10 different modules of all different things to, better your skills, and you do tons of practices with me, and we just get you going. And, one of my mentors that I just finished with just texted me right before the podcast that she has her first paying client on Friday.
Fantastic.
So she's on her way. I'm so excited for her. And I love mentoring. I'm a born teacher, so it's just so natural for me. So I love doing that. So I'd say I do readings, I do 1-hour classes, and then I do mentorship. Those are kind of the 3 things that I do.
Fantastic. So you know where to find her. And of course, it will be in the show notes. It's alikatz.com. And Ali, we have so enjoyed having you and your animal loves on our show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Pearl.
Oh, so thrilled, especially again, because we have the Houston connection.
I know. We're going to have to take this in person.
I know. We really are. Of course, you can find me at animallovelanguages.com. You can also find all of our episodes, both the podcast and the YouTube series, archived on animallovelanguages.com/podcast. But most importantly, if you go there, you can find him. You can find Pearl Katz along with my red-footed tortoise Multi and my box turtle Bruce, right? And our furry nephew, Flash Gordon, our wire-haired dachshund. So those of you who love animals, visit alikatz.com, animallovelanguages.com. Reach out, let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have a topic about animal communication that you'd like to hear more about. Let us know if there is an animal communicator you'd like to hear from that we haven't featured yet, and we'll get back in touch with you. Ali, thank you so much. Broadcasting live from your closet. I absolutely adore it. Talk about a tiny house with a personalized touch. And I hope we'll be talking with you again very soon.
Thank you
everyone
for
listening, watching today. Bye for now.